Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Vale.
As you know, we're doing this by Zoom because of the present situation in the world. This is a time that's quite unique in worldly circumstances. Most of us, I would dare say all of us, have never witnessed anything like what is going on now. And different people have different reactions to what's going on now. It's a time when there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of fear, and a lot of difficulty. Different people are in different states of difficulty. And we should never assume on behalf of anybody else the state of the difficulty that they have. Our position is to be compassionate and to be merciful. But as we are compassionate and merciful towards others, as we expect Allah to be compassionate and merciful towards us, we must also establish a direct relationship with our Lord. We have to be able to talk to Him, to communicate with Him. This is the way we will find our salvation. This is the way we will be saved. Now, the fact that the circumstances that we're in now place us all in isolation, place us all in a sort of quarantine in our own homes, it doesn't really change what goes on a day-to-day basis. We may be able to move around. We may be able to go places, fly in airplanes, but we're always within our body, and we're always trapped within our view of reality. That view of reality holds us in place or sets us free. If we believe we are limited and our difficulties are such that we can't overcome them, then we are trapped in our view of our difficulties. We have to develop courage. We have to become brave. We have to become brave in our own lives. We have to be able to release ourselves from the doubt and the fear and the anxiety that the world puts on us. Now, another layer has been added to this, and that layer right now is called coronavirus. But in our daily life, in regular circumstances, there are always layers that are added to our difficulties. Our jobs might be in difficulties. Our income might be in difficulty. Our ability in our relationships with other people might be in difficulty. All of these things cause us stress. Now we have additional stress laid on above all of this. This new stress is so much in the mind and thoughts of humanity that if you watch the news or read the newspaper, it's all that's talked about now. It's as if everything else has been forgotten, and this is the most important thing in existence. The most important thing in existence is our relationship with Allah. And there are constantly issues, dilemmas, consequences, different things that get in the way of that relationship. Now, lots of people are suffering now. People are dying. People are getting very, very ill. But in the world, people are always dying. People are always getting very, very ill. It's just now we seem to be paying more attention to it. Every day we post the number of people who died from this terrible disease. Every day we post the number of people who've caught this terrible disease. But under normal circumstances, do we post how many people got cancer? Do we post how many people got heart disease? Do we post how many people got the flu? Do we post and keep track of all of these things? Are these things now at the forefront of our imagination? Are at the forefront of what we discuss and what we think about? We go on with our daily lives, but our daily lives are now limited. They're limited to our houses because we're all quarantined. So we have more time to think about what is real. When we were walking outside, was that real? When we were driving in our cars, was that real? When we were meeting with people in groups, was that real? When we were going to sporting events, was that real? When we were going to the movies, was that real? What is reality? Where is reality? We are now given the time to contemplate this reality. We're now we're now given the time to assess for ourselves what is reality. And if we look closely at what reality is for us, reality hasn't changed from 3 years ago to today. Reality is constant, and reality is haq, Allah's reality. Any other reality is illusory and a divergence from haq. And we cannot let the divergence become our reality, because our reality is what we imagine. Our reality is what we think. Our reality is particular to ourselves unless it becomes universal. And the way it becomes universal is for us to give up the thought of ourselves, the thought of who we are as an individual, and we begin to understand ourselves in the larger picture of things. And the larger picture of things is that only God exists. And we must enter into that reality. We must enter into Allah's reality. We must enter into the Lord's reality. Not just now, but always. And this time of isolation has given us a particular time to focus on this, because we can't be as involved with the illusory parts of this world that we are constantly interacting with and playing with. So here we are, each of us sitting in our homes, each of us alone. And what is it that takes our time now? What is it that we are focused on now? Are we watching the latest movies to stream? Are we looking for entertainment? Are we trying to bring what was outside in the world into our house so that we are essentially doing the same things we always did? Or are we beginning to recognize that there is only one reality? And if we are to resolve our problems, we have to enter into that reality. Now, in the same way that Allah cannot be seen, in the same way that Allah cannot be touched, in the same way that Allah is not made up of elements and is not elemental, does not have form, in that same way, haq, Allah's reality, does not have form, is not made up of elemental forces, is outside of that. Can we take ourselves to a transcendent place where we go beyond that which is elemental and take ourselves to Allah's reality. To do that, we have to lose the magnetic attraction that we have to all of the elements. We have to lose the interaction that we have with all the elements. We have to lose praise and blame. We have to lose vengeance. We have to lose revenge. We have to lose hatred, because all of these things create an attachment from ourselves to the world. We have to stop thinking in terms of who am I and who are you. We have to stop thinking in terms of jealousy. We have to stop thinking in terms of why did they have this and I don't. We have to stop thinking in these terms. We have to start thinking in terms of God supplies for everyone, and that this world, this life that we are going through, is a phase in a much larger existence. And if we are truly going to understand who we are, we cannot limit ourselves to thinking that this world and what goes on in this world is all that there is for us. We can't look at this world as that which our satisfaction comes from. We can't look at this world as the place where we get our nourishment. We can't look at this world as that which makes us whole. There are people who need fame in order to feel whole. There are people who need wealth in order to feel whole. There are lots of people right now who are homeless, lots of people right now who are suffering from illness and disease. Fame and fortune are the farthest things from their mind. For a lot of people, a piece of food is all they want right now to make them feel whole. Everybody is in a different circumstance. Everybody has to go through their own circumstance. Everybody has to go through their own difficulties, and we can't compare circumstances. We can't compare this person's difficulties to that person's difficulties. We don't know what goes on in anybody else, but we do know that we have to be compassionate, and we have to be loving, and we have to be kind. And at this moment in time, in the time that we know, these qualities of kindness and mercy and compassion and love should reverberate in us as much as we can possibly bring them into being. So we have to do work, we have to create effort to create a certain kind of transcendent feeling within us. We have to detach ourselves from the world and attach ourselves to Allah. Detach from the world, attach to Allah. And as we attach to Allah, we have to then incorporate His qualities in dealing with the rest of humanity. Mercy and compassion must be at the forefront of our tongues and our minds and our actions. Our consciousness must be conscious of the difficulty that everyone is going through. And we must be conscious of the fact that we have to be aids to everyone in this time of difficulty. We cannot abandon the truth and focus on ourselves. We can't do it now. We can't do it ever. This will pass. And there will be a time when this pandemic is no longer influencing the world. However, all of the difficulties aren't going to go away. People will still be hungry. People will still be ill. People will still be dying. People will still be mourning and grieving over lost ones and loved ones. This is the continuum that we all face at all times. We shouldn't see this time right now as so much different than all other times. We have to find a way to create a relationship with Allah. The only solution to our dilemmas is to create a relationship with Allah. As long as we look at the difficulties, as long as we focus on the grieving, as long as we focus on the illnesses, as long as we focus on what's not right, we can't make ourselves right. We have to focus on Allah, and Allah is always right. Allah is always good. Allah is always merciful. And if we tune in to that wavelength, if we tune into that reality, then we begin to understand the truth and we find our way towards what will save us. Many people talk about the coming of the Messiah, and Muhammad Rahim Bawa Muhaiyaddeen also spoke about this at one time. And he indicated that the Rasulullah at one time indicated when the Messiah would come. But people didn't understand from his speech when that would happen. So some people thought it would be 14 years. Some people thought it would be 140 years. Different people had different interpretations as to what the prophet said. However, many people are sitting around and waiting for the Messiah to come to save them. How many people have died since the time of the prophet waiting for the Messiah? What's the answer? Bawa indicated that the answer is we have to become our own Messiah. We have to take control of our life, no matter what our difficulties, no matter what kind of trauma that we've gone through. We have the same obligation, and that obligation is to take control of our life and become the one who brings salvation to us. And how do we bring salvation to us? We bring salvation to us by developing a relationship with our Lord, by developing a relationship with God, by making ourselves close to Him. And the way we make ourselves close to Him is through prayer and through creating a situation for our being where we transcend the worldly qualities and enter into Allah's holy qualities. His name is Rahman and Rahim. He has given us the ability to be Rahman and Rahim. He said to you, to each of us, we can be merciful. He said to each of us, you can be compassionate. These are His qualities. He has given to us what is His. What greater treasure is there in the world than to be allowed to share in Allah's qualities? You see, we have made an analysis, each of us, as to what's important and what's not important in this world. And we live by that analysis. We imagine and we live by what we imagine. Some of us imagine it's very important to do good in school, and there's nothing more important than that. Some of us imagine that we have to get advanced degrees, we have to get PhDs or doctorates, and there's nothing more important than that. Some imagine that we have to accumulate wealth, and there's nothing more important than that. Some imagine that we have to become famous, and there's nothing more important than that. Some imagine that they have to become religious leaders and tell people how to find God, and there's nothing more important than that. Others who begin to truly look at this, begin to understand that the most important thing we can do is establish a relationship with Allah. And everything else fades away when it comes to that. Everything else disappears from importance when it comes to that. So we have to begin slowly to practice Allah's qualities. We have to begin slowly to put all of these things into action. We can't just talk about them. We can't just assume that we know what they are. We have to practice them. And as we practice them, our being will transcend and we will not be attached to all of the difficulties of the world. If you look at the world, you'll see that with the seasons comes death and change. With the seasons comes rebirth, constant death and rebirth. We need to understand that this is the way of the world. We need to go to the place where death and rebirth no longer exist. We need to go to the place that is eternal and is constant and is consistent and is always transcendent. And that is with Allah. We have to go to that place and we have to pray to our Lord. We have to say, Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, O merciful, compassionate one, we ask for your mercy and your compassion. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, we ask you to take us to the place where we can understand you. Allah, we know that we can't do this without your assistance. You created us, and now you have to take us to that place of reality. Allah, you created us. You created us to know you. So help us to know you. Let us see what can't be seen with these eyes. Let us hear what can't be heard with these ears. Let us taste what can't be tasted with this tongue or smelled with this nose or touched with these fingers. Let us be able to go beyond the senses of this world and enter into the senses of reality. Allah, take us to the place where there is no form so that we can understand formlessness. Allah, break our attachment to form so that we can understand who you are and what you are. This form will never know you. What will know you is the truth and your justice and your reality. So make us understand that reality so that we can know you. In truth, only Allah can know Allah. So take away from us everything that is not of you. Take away from us the jealousy. Take away from us the anger. Take away from us the hatred. Take away from us the praise and blame and the high and low. Bring us into a place of unity where we coexist with all beings as one, where we coexist with all races as one, with all religions as one, with all people as one. We are all your children. You created all of us. You brought us all into this world, and we ask you for your protection. We ask you to cure this world and to cure all of the inhabitants that you created so that they can turn towards you. We know that for many of the people that you've created, these burdens that you've given them overwhelm them to the point where they can't find time for you because they're so busy dealing with their burdens. We ask you to lessen those burdens so that they can turn towards what is their true obligation, which is to turn towards you. Allah, we ask this of you as your creation. We ask this of you as the ones who believe in you. We ask this of you as the ones who find that there is no other place for us other than with you. You alone can protect us. You alone can take us to reality. We depend on you alone. Open up our hearts and bring the light of reality into our hearts, the light that is yours into our hearts, the nur that is yours into our hearts, and allow us to see this truth. You alone can do this for us, Allah, and we depend on you alone to do it. We don't look anywhere else other than you. Our faith is totally in you. Our difficulties can be taken away from us in an instant by you alone. And we ask you to come, intercede on our behalf and on behalf of all of humanity, and bring about a solution to every man's problem. We know that death is part of life. We know that what's going on now just focuses people more on the reality of that. So we are now becoming more conscious in this world of the nature of our existence in this world. We ask you to help us transcend the nature of existence in this world and come closer to you. In you is our solution. In you is our salvation. In you is the only way out of here, Allah. And the way out of here is towards reality and towards your eternity. And we ask you to take us towards you so that we can know the truth. May you do this for each and every one of us. May you bring each and every one of us to your plane so that we can understand who you are. We say to you, O Lord, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. Only you exist, O God. We do not exist. We look just to find you. May it be so. Ameen. Ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.